bit from my second book, Apocalyptic Swing, and then I think I'll read some poems from a new project, a new book that I'm working on right now. All sorts of things happen in this book. There's a lot of poems about boxing. It's interesting, like that they say that it's sweaty and dusty, which is kind of how I am right now. But I didn't write the book in Austin, but kind of. There's a lot of boxing, a lot of religion, and a lot of jazz. My editor said to me, "How many boxing poems can the American public take?" And then we decided we would endeavor to find out. This poem is called "A Love Supreme," which is based on the Coltrane song, that title. But lots of things happen. A love supreme. You beautiful, broke-back horse of my heart, proud, debonair, not quite there in the head. You current with no river in sight, current as confetti after parades, you small town, Italian ice shop next to brothels beside the highway, sweet and sweaty, you high as a kite coming down. You suburban sprawled all over the bed. You dead? Not nearly. Not yet. A love supreme. Breathless in the backwoods, backlit by what joy could hold you, I see you, naked as stripped wires, all coiled against the quarryman's hands. You dance the polecat dance. I lay by the tires unseen. I crawled here, sniffing the ground for clues. Bloodhound, girl, child, rooting you out. Get gone, you'd say. No way, ma mère. I love you like Elvis loved pistols. The possibility of that music better than all the stages in the world. Girl, you keep rocking just like so. I'll go down river and catch you a fish with my dirty hands. No man can contain the love I have for you, nor the rapt attention. Take my hand, take my whole life too. I've slicked my hair back. I've made myself a boy for you. It's summer. It really is hot here. Jerusalem Baptist Church. I have seen the fire from the back door of my house. I have heard the women whisper, "Jesus, oh sweet Jesus." I have counted the cars coming from the darkness of the woods and have seen the mud splattered on the grill. I have watched men practice the backhand, the roundhouse, the lexicon of knots one needs to tie a hog. I have seen the hog tied over and over as the men laugh and let it go and call out to find out the time it took. I've heard men joke hogs are faster. I've watched them kick one for good measure. I've watched men wash their hands and put their gloves away. I've heard Hosanna in the street as the sky grew orange in the distance. Rosary Catholic Church. I remember the time she showed it to me. Each bead with a carving of a saint inside. Chasm between robe and flesh, or the hard line of a walking stick, no longer than the leg of a staple. That's what faith was. Something I couldn't see but felt all over. Like a charge, she'd say. Like when they put the wires on my head and I shook and shook. I couldn't imagine. Most days, I didn't even try. Why not play outside or bring every can in the house to the store for recycling? Much better than working the one thought over, mother in the bed, and if I looked closer, mother with the wires, thin as crickets' legs, and humming already before the music even reached her, mother glistening, mother glowing with the spirit, all the windows of her mind blown out, and the light pouring in so you can't tell the fire from the moon, and the organ straining in the heat. The groan of the instrument pushed past comfort toward the highest register, but maybe not. Maybe such a low groaning, you could feel it without knowing. How hot the pipes must have gotten, those men in their white suits stepping back from her body so as not to get caught by the current. And this is just one day, she'd say. This is just one day of suffering. Late 20th century in the form of litany. The winter continued, and I thought I heard voices. Butchers sharpened their knives, and I thought I heard voices. Roy Orbison moaned, and I thought I heard voices. In the dark room of childhood, I thought I heard voices. My bike chain came loose, and I thought I heard voices. Mother choked on the bit, and I thought I heard voices. A war raged outside, and I thought I heard voices. My saxophone gleamed, and I thought I heard voices. The drive-in went dark, and I thought I heard voices. The speakers kept sizzling, and I thought I heard voices. Boys came in the pews, and I thought I heard voices. Mother choked on the bit, and I thought I heard voices. The mills locked their doors, and I thought I heard voices. Elvis kept playing dead, and I thought I heard voices. I watched her undress, and I thought I heard voices. Boys lit cats on fire, and I thought I heard voices. Flames crept toward our yard, and I thought I heard voices. The Klan marched through town, and I thought I heard voices. I met my maker, and I thought I heard voices. Gas filled the garage, and I thought I heard voices. I lied at confession and said I heard voices. Someone shot JR, and I thought I heard voices. She said, "Get me out," and I thought I heard voices. My vision got worse, and I thought I heard voices. I crawled into bed, and I thought I heard voices. The highway came through, and I thought I heard voices. I met my maker, and I thought I heard voices. I danced in my bedroom, and I thought I heard voices. The curtain caught fire, and I thought I heard voices. Mother took all the pills, and I looked at the clock. I placed my hand on the turntable, and I thought I heard voices. Joan Jett sang Crimson and Clover, and I thought I heard voices over and over, and I thought I heard voices. This is called Blues for Ruby Goldstein. Ruby Goldstein was the ref in the very famous Emile Griffith, Benny Paret fight. There's a great movie of it, a documentary about it called Ring of Fire. Benny Paret called Emile Griffith a faggot the day before the fight in the press conference, and Emile Griffith said, "I'm going to kill you tomorrow." Emile Griffith, it turned out later, perhaps not surprisingly, was also homosexual. And there was a lot of controversy about Ruby Goldstein keeping that fight going. Blues for Ruby Goldstein. The best time is sunset, when the streets get quiet. No more kids playing stickball under the window, no guys looking up to see if you're home. What does anybody know about a body anyway? You can take a worse beating than most can imagine. You can get every rib broken and your eyes punched shut and your kidneys can bleed like you see at the butcher. You can forget your name and still be in church the next morning passing the plate. It's why guys like to get in fights at the bar. No one who's taken a punch really thinks he'll get killed. I mean, sometimes it's different. One time, out on the street, this kid mouthed off to a cop. Just some skinny kid, not from around here. Probably he lived further uptown. They took him round the back of my building and let him know what was what, how this part of town ran. I remember him down on his knees, not making a sound, just slumping forward and rocking back as he took the boot in the face. One would grab his head like a barber checking the length of his hair. And he'd pull so the kid rose up a little, and then he'd let go. It went on like that for a while. That kid probably thought he was done for. Yeah, he probably thought they'd leave him for dead, which they did. He was slight, what we'd have called a flit or a fairy, or something unkind. But he got up a few hours later. At first, he just crawled, but he found his legs pretty soon. He got up and looked around. You could see him take a big breath before he walked out into the street. That was brave for that kid to do that. And the guys let him go without making much of a fuss. I think a beer can got thrown and maybe a couple guys spit. Nothing too bad after what he'd been through. I was skinny myself. The jewel of the ghetto. That's what they called me back in the 30s. So I know the kind of lip you take from guys bigger than you. All heart. That's what most little guys are. But that counts for a lot. In the gym or the ring, all you gotta do is get up one more time than the other guy thinks you can. It's true. Nothing breaks a guy's spirit like a skinny kid getting up off the floor. Some nights, I could see the moment I won before I won. I'd take every punch that some fighter could think of. I'd feel them just let themselves go in my gut until they just let loose, or sometimes the gut and the head and the gut one more time. And here's something no fighter will tell you. There's a sound you make when you hit and you're nothing but motion. It's not like the sounds you make with your wife or a girl. It's rougher and darker, and sometimes it feels better. And after, you feel so relaxed. You can't really explain it and make it sound normal. But a lot of folks know what I mean. And I'd let the guy do it, let him get to where he'd want me to hold him up for a bit. He would almost thank me for not falling down. We'd stand there till the ref pushed us apart, both of us catching our breath, and those big guys just couldn't believe it, that I was still there, not passed out on the mat. One time I even whispered, "It's over," in this guy's ear, real quiet, so as not to embarrass him, just look. And then I walked back to my corner, and then I came out and punched him in the jaw. He looked up like someone called him for dinner, and then he just fell. I can still see him against the blue of the mat, like when you're lying down and a man comes into view above you with the whole sky behind him. What I'm trying to say is a body can take a hell of a lot. It's 100 degrees today in this city, and still the kids are out in the streets, the women are outside at the market, there's a girl in the next building learning to play violin, and sure, they're all sweating and wiping their foreheads, but who's going to say stop? They don't want to. That's the truth. So I'm working on this new project, and it's a book of poems called Rocket Fantastic. It's a sort of story as well, and all you really need to know is that there are 5 characters, and we only hear 3 voices. There is a young girl. She's 9 years old. She lives in Pasadena with her father, who builds rockets at the Jet Propulsion Lab. It's 1968, and that's one of the reasons a lot of people were showing up in Southern California at the time. She's writing letters to Jim Lovell, the astronaut. She is being written to by her brother David, who is in Vietnam. And as he is writing to her, he is consistently asking about their older sister, Babe, who clearly he and Babe are not speaking for some reason or other. Babe has left home and left college and moved into the Hollywood Hills with her friend Jasper Taylor. She has also fallen in love, or something, with a band leader who has a band called Rocket Fantastic. Whether or not there is actually a band is a real question that she and Jasper have. I also have the question. So at some point, maybe we'll all figure it out, or maybe we won't. These are from Rocket Fantastic. One day a girl wakes up so tired of Pasadena that each white house makes her cry as she drives herself to school. Her father says, buck up, or here, go buy yourself something nice. But really, how many dresses can one girl have? And anyway, there's a war outside somewhere to think of. One day a girl wakes up and the green of the trees seems like some story she's been told over and over. The boy with his buzz cut sneaking his hand up her shirt, then missing the point entirely once he gets there. Oh, the boredom of beautiful men you're meant to marry. Sam and Michael, Bob Jr. with his perfect white shirt and pressed chinos, who looked so surprised when you caught him in the pool house with Jasper kneeling before him. One day a girl wakes up and there's a war outside and $30 in her pocket, and Jasper calls on the powder blue phone and talks to her mother. That Jasper is such a nice boy. He says he'll meet her out front in the Alfa Romeo. Pasadena, it's a place a girl can't go back to, or won't, at least not if Jasper is driving the car. May 15th, 1968. In the evening, we're on point, and Tommy calls me little man and tells me to stay straight and not go off the path. But sometimes I can't find the path, and sometimes I want to wander into the green of the hedgerow and keep going. But Tommy says, little man, keep your shit together and stay straight, Pasadena. We go in deeper to the place where the radio starts to fade a bit, or maybe it's just the leaves get thicker, so I can't tell the rustle of the branches from the guys saying, over, over. And Tommy says, stop humming or I'll kick your ass, but friendly. He's my friend, and he doesn't say it so much as he whispers, like we used to in the tent after Dad told us all to go to bed. Remember? I remember Babe would hold our hands when we got scared at something we'd hear outside in the woods, and how we'd fall asleep like that and be like that all night. Sometimes I'd wake up before the two of you, but I wouldn't let go. Jasper left to get ice cubes from the Italian designer 3 houses down because he says ours didn't have enough integrity. I was lying there listening to the Doors, so I didn't really understand, and the girl put on her clothes and went looking for the band. Who may have just been one person who did something with a car radio and timpanis. I was lying there with my hand in the water, and then you showed up in that von Furstenberg dress of yours with a bag of blood oranges in your hand. And I shaded my eyes and asked what time it was, because I really didn't know. And you said, ask the Lizard King. And now I think it's funny that I didn't get the reference. May 5th, 1968. Tommy doesn't care much about the stars, little sis. Though sometimes he'll play along just to humor me or help me if the night gets too quiet or too long. The night gets long out here differently than they do back home. I mean, it's not like I never lay awake back there, but here I'm either staring at the roof of the tent or waiting on patrol somewhere. The waiting's the part that I hate most, and it's worst out in the fields and near the hedgerow. I know it's supposed to hide us, but it seems like anything could be in there. Like that dare we used to do where we'd go outside the tent and go out from where the campers slept to the edge of the woods or to some dark part and turn our backs and wait. I don't even know what we were waiting for back then, but the sounds would send us running back to the tent, and it was frightening, but fun. Last week we were out there in the dark, and I tried to pretend I was just up against the trees back home. I could wait a lot longer back there, I tell you that right now. I used to run after I heard the first footsteps, and remember that one time we heard a bear and I just hit the ground? Didn't even run with the two of you, just dropped. You don't even know what you're hearing out here. The hedgerow makes a totally different sound. Tommy says that's BS, that one branch cracks just like another. But I've seen him scared, and I know he's scared because that's when he tells me not to run. He says, don't you fucking run. Where would I go? It's not like home where one darkness is better than another. Am I making any sense? Here's another way to say it. Some nights we're out along the hedgerow and it gets so quiet you can hear the new guys start to cry. And Tommy will say, hey, Pasadena knows a shit ton about stars. Tell us about the stars, Pasadena. And it's just to get the kids to look up, and not because he's interested, really. But that's okay. You won't understand, but it is. Sometimes we'd go away, just the two of us, and I'd make a few things to eat in the car. We'd take the Aston Martin. It was a gift from my great aunt, who we called the Dowager. Well, Jasper and I called her that before we'd walk into the Polo Lounge. We'd say, let's go pay the Dowager a visit, which meant, let's let the Dowager buy us a salad with a glass of iced tea. She'd look at me and say, I don't understand the fashions these days. Or, what do you do up there in the hills? It was a little brown Aston Martin with a cloth top. She put down her glass of water and reached for the keys. So they were cool when I held them. It made me think of afternoons by the pool. Jasper whistled a little. She said, that's not yours, Jasper Taylor. She always called him by both of his names, as in, I don't trust that Jasper Taylor. Or, that Jasper Taylor's queer as a $3 bill. I'm not sure how she'd gotten it there. Maybe the gardener drove it, or the driver drove it over and she took a cab. But there it was waiting for us after lunch, so clean it looked wet in the sun. It's funny getting something you never wanted, and I did just sort of stand there, staring, not really knowing what to do. June 29th, 1968. Ask her if she remembers the last time we went to the mountains. In that car Jasper just bought and let us borrow for a day, and we kept overnight. We leaned back and looked at the sky, and I said Andromeda, and she said Orion. Did we ever teach you that game? You say a name, and then you shut your eyes and spin together, and then you stop and look up and have to find it in the sky. The first one to find theirs gets a point. You start with the Greek names because they're easy to find. Andromeda's simple. I found it first. Then she found Orion, and I said Lyra, and she said, too easy, Wolfman Jack. That's the next step. Make a name that the constellation lives in, so you have to spin and figure and then find. Did we teach you? You get so dizzy and you laugh a lot. It's more fun when Dad's not there to tell you, hurry up. We'll take you there when I get back. Ask her if she remembers how cold it got, but we didn't feel like going home, so we kept spinning and laughing. I could see our breath, and then she stopped, and it was just mine, like smoke above us. She said, Vietnam. And I said, Victor Charlie, kind of like a joke. And she said, there aren't enough stars for that. I'll just read one more of these. Captain Lovell, they are like giants sometimes. They're bigger than our father, I swear. And until right before he went away, my brother and sister were always together. They don't really pay attention to me, or they don't really talk to me about things because they say I'm little and wouldn't understand. Sometimes they make one shadow, even when they're standing far apart, like when he's shooting baskets and she's standing on the edge of the lawn. They're two, and then they're one as he jumps into the air. They touch the roof like the trees do. I like to run and stand between them when their shadows break apart, and then I'm like a bridge. I tried to explain it to them, but Jasper came over right then to get Babe, and David just stood staring after them until he said, come here, and put me on his shoulders so I could be tall enough to dunk the basketball. Thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate it.